Let me say good evening and welcome to tonight's special call meeting for the Muskogee City Council. Just before we start with our meeting tonight, we have several presentations that we would like to make. The first is going to be a proclamation to Commander Melvin Francis of the Disabled American Veterans Muskogee DAV chapter. Several of them are my colleagues, friends, and acquaintances, and out of respect for their request, we're going to ask that you stand and we do the Pledge of Allegiance at this time.
Comrades, attention. Persons wearing a uniform cap, please give the hand salute. All others, please place your right hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of our United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
Tonight, I'm so excited to be able to do this proclamation to the DAV on today because they have been so visible in our community doing so many great things. They are heroes. They are retired heroes who still find time to serve their community to make Muskogee great. I'm going to read the proclamation at this time, and then I've said to my friends at the DAV, they will navigate the photo ops on tonight to give them their proper due and respect on tonight. Whereas Disabled American Veterans, DAV, was founded by World War I veterans on September 25th, 1920, and was chartered by an act of Congress on June 17, 1932. And whereas in 2020, DAV celebrated 100 years of veterans of the armed forces and their families and survivors and communities. You could clap right there. Whereas DAV is dedicated to a single purpose, empowering veterans to lead high-quality lives with respect and dignity. And whereas DAV accomplishes this by ensuring veterans and their families have access to the full range of benefits available to them by fighting for the interests of America's injured heroes and by educating the public about the needs of veterans transitioning back to civilian life. And whereas DAV provides free professional assistance to veterans and their families in obtaining benefits and services provided by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and other agencies. And whereas the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma, is proud to honor the members of the Disabled American Veterans Chapter 7 for their unending commitment to ill and injured veterans for all generations and conflicts. And now, therefore, I, Marlon J. Coleman, Mayor of the City of Muskogee, do hereby proclaim September 25th, 2020 as Disabled American Veterans Day. And there's a designee to come and receive the proclamation. Thank you for all of your service and all of the great breakfast and all of your friendship.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you very much.
We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the City of Muskogee.
Yes, sir. While we're posing, they have great breakfast on Saturdays for $5.
Every third Saturday of the month. However, we haven't had a breakfast because of COVID since March, but we hope to soon get back to that. But it's the best breakfast in town.
Yeah, they're the reason why I'm filling up so nicely. There's some other gentlemen, I believe, you wanted to come up to take a group photo. And then after that, the members of the council who would like to take a photo with you at the proclamation will do that as well.
Danny?
I'm good. Let the commander go.
That's our state commander. That's our state adjutant, Danny Oliver. Members of the Chapter 7, if you want to come up. Billy?
Get up, sir.
How you doing? We need a breakfast meeting.
We range from Korea all the way to Afghanistan in our members. Our chapter was founded June 30th, 1938 here in Muskogee. We've been here for a while.
Billy just got out of the hospital about 2 hours ago.
I can't see you, honey.
You can take your mask off, Billy, for your picture. Then you gotta put it back on.
Oh, there you go. Okay, one more. Thank you.
Get Trish. Get
Anyone of the council, if you'd like to come down and be in the photo op?
He could stay in the next picture too. You want him to stay up for the next picture? You don't want to stay up for the next? Yeah, jump up here.
Yeah.
All right, handsome, look over this way.
Billy, she's talking to you.
You want to talk?
Scooch this way just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Open up for breakfast again? Okay.
Thank you so much for your service. Appreciate you so much, sir.
Let's celebrate those veterans again tonight. Let's give those veterans another hand. And thank you so much. And their spouses, thank you. I'm a firm believer that a lot of the good ideas to grow Muskogee are with the people of Muskogee. And not long ago, we had a test and tune, which was a new term to me, but it was a lot of fun. That was the event that was at Hatbox, where our two employees, Jeff Lee and John Rawson, took the initiative to be certain that we could have that event. It was such a success. There was nearly 1,500 people throughout the day. And so we're looking forward to the next event that they're going to have on October 17th. And the community is welcome to attend. Again, we can't thank these employees enough. Help me as we recognize Jeff Lee and John Rawson for their efforts.
That's really, really good.
You want my phone?
I love the
Make sure you get the good side of that.
Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here. Item number 1.
Receive report on the COVID-19 pandemic in Muskogee, and if necessary, take appropriate action to authorize and approve a subsequent amendment to Resolution Number 2801, declaring a local emergency, or City-County Joint Resolution Number 2803.
Mr. Miller. We're laughing because Roy was trying to read my lips. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Okay, all right. You on here? Okay. Just briefly, you guys are well aware of the, well, however would I do that?
I did that, Mike.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
my fault. So.
All right. Is that better? Oh, the double whammy right there.
Yep.
All right. So thank you for your patience as I
Yes.
overcome those technical difficulties. You all are aware of the pandemic that we're in, and we do have some brief updates. Our COVID-19 task force did meet last week and continues to meet and look at the situation as it keeps going in the city and the county as well. We have good community partners, and we try and keep a good line of communication with the health department and with our healthcare partners here in Muskogee. That being said, I'm going to ask our emergency manager, Tyler Evans, to come forward and speak at this time and give you an update.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In front of you should have the packet everybody's used to seeing. We'll briefly go over the numbers. Included in this packet is report from the state and the White House COVID-19 task force. There are currently 140 active cases in the city of Muskogee and 249 in Muskogee County. This is the highest number of active cases that we've seen so far. For the state of Oklahoma, 17% of ICU beds are available, 25% medical surgery beds, and 75% of operating room beds are available. The next couple of pages is the percentages based on the population you've come accustomed to seeing. If you flip over, you'll see the state of Oklahoma map. That is a COVID-19 tracker that is ran by the Oklahoma State Department of Health. You can see Muskogee County is still in the orange. The following page is the graph that corresponds with the map for the yellow, the green, the orange counties. It looks like for about September 15th, we're up to about 27 per 100,000. This is that number you hear Doug talking about, the magic number 14.29 cases per 100,000. That separates the yellow cases from the orange cases. If we're above 14.29, we're in the orange. We're looking for that number to go back down because this is a 7-day rolling number. So everything is put together. Obviously, we had the issues with Eddie Warrior Correctional Facility and some of the others that bumped our number up, and that's going to be reflected in some of these graphs. That's also included in this handout. You flip the page with me. This is the same handout I gave last week. What do you do when you're in the orange? When you're more than 14.29 daily new cases per 100,000. Some of the recommendations: consider wearing face coverings in public, limit your out-of-state travel, wash hands often, maintain the physical distance of 6 feet apart, don't touch your face, stay home if you're sick, practice symptom checks prior to team sport competitions or practices. Large or public gatherings and venues are suggested to operate under increased hygiene measures, physical distancing, face coverings, and symptom monitoring. Provide multiple meeting schedules to encourage smaller gatherings instead of one large one. Consider wearing face coverings at all times in public settings. Limit travel to only essential travel. If telework is not possible, limit travel to work and essential services only. Try limiting visiting friends or family without urgent needs, and limit attending gatherings of any number of people outside your household or residence. If you flip the page over, the next couple of charts are kind of some new stuff you guys maybe haven't seen. This is from the state of Oklahoma epidemiology reports, which are published once weekly. This latest report came from September 17th. The first one on the left is the test daily percent positive with the 7-day rolling average. As you can see, about September 7th, it looks like we've peaked, and that number continues to go down. The latest date they have on there is the 14th. We're hopefully to continue that trend downward. The page on the right, on the bottom, is the COVID-19 deaths by date of death and case fatality rate per 100 cases. Looks like it peaked about the end of April there, the beginning of May on the blue dotted line. Ever since then, it's continued to go down, and it maintains a pretty flat trajectory, and we hope to continue to see that decrease and go down even further. If you flip the page over again, you have the percent of cases ever hospitalized by date of report. They go all the way back to March 19th when they started tracking this. Number of people that's been hospitalized, and you have your trend line there in the orange that continues to go down, and we've been pretty flat for about the month of August all the way into September. On the right page, it says Oklahoma. This is the Washington COVID-19 Task Force. They publish their reports once a week on Sundays. Unfortunately, I waited all the way till past 4 o'clock to wait for this week's report. It just has not been uploaded yet to the state. So this latest report came from the 13th. This is last week's report. The second bullet down there under summary, it says Oklahoma's seen stability in new cases and a decrease in test positivity over the last week. The following 3 counties have the highest number of new cases over the last 3 weeks: Tulsa County, Oklahoma County, and Cleveland County. So we're talking about 2 weeks ago, what this report is talking about. They put the recommendations down there on the bottom. Like I said, this is the Washington Task Force. The previous pages came from the state. If you flip the page over, I didn't include all the graphs in there. That report itself is around, I think, between 15 to 20 pages. Here on the left, you have your COVID-19 county and metro alerts. We were there. You see in the top 10 the metro area in the red, Muskogee. If you look on the right, though, you have Tulsa County, Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, and Muskogee County, which is in that second line there, Muskogee County, on that graph. The reason we hit that, you see that one single large spike there, that purple spike from Eddie Warrior Just Correctional Facility when we tested, over 700 positive cases, which pushed us there into the red and made our numbers really go up. So you see the trend line in the orange going back down. It's much different from the other counties. We hope to be back out of this orange within the next week or so. Once our testing, that rolling average, that 7-day average comes through. So we're hoping this is a single occurrence and then we're back down out of that orange. Does anybody have any questions in regards to any of the graphs or numbers right now? If not, I'd like to introduce Mr. Doug Walton from Muskogee County Health Department.
Yeah, hello, Tyler. Thanks, Mayor and Council. Really, not a lot to add. Tyler and I have talked a couple times today, and yeah, I think he's really reported everything that we know in terms of our numbers, cases. We are still continuing to add new cases both to the city and county. Outside of the events at the correctional facilities, and I think the guidelines for the alert system are really what we just have to continue emphasizing, and really the face coverings and the distancing are the critical pieces of that. If we can keep people from being closer than 6 feet for more than 10 or 15 minutes and to be wearing face coverings, we're going to really be doing the most we can to slow the spread. I'd be happy to take any questions. We're continuing to test at the health department every day, 8:30 to 10:30, Monday through Friday. Anyone that has questions or needs to consider scheduling a rapid test should call 918-912-2160. If they get a message, then leave a voice message, and someone will call you back, usually within the hour. Okay, and then I'll be happy to take any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Walton. Last week I asked you about the nursing home care, the care at the nursing homes. How are we doing there? Yes. And have the cases went up in these nursing homes here in Muskogee, Oklahoma?
Well, you did ask me about that, and at the time I had been unaware that there had been a bit of an outbreak at one nursing home, and came to learn a fair bit more about it pretty shortly after. Testing has been happening. You also had asked about that, and I did find out that the nursing homes are working with the long-term care division of the State Department of Health, which really comes directly from OKC. It doesn't really come through the county. And they are conducting testings as needed based on the alert status of the county, and they have rapid test equipment to be doing that in-house. But other than the one outbreak, that's really all that we've had thus far within the county in this last week.
Now, is that outbreak, did they report it to you, or did you check on that?
Well, they don't really report it to me. I mean, it goes up through the state to the long-term care. It had already been reported, and I just was not aware. It had happened, I guess, the day before, and then found out the day after or the meeting, and I'm sorry I didn't have that information at the time.
So what you're telling me now is that all the nursing homes right now, except one, the cases is steady and they're not going up. Is that correct?
That is correct to my knowledge, and I nor the other people within the county health department are the first to find out if there is an outbreak. And that there was the main reason I didn't have the information last time. So as of earlier today, we had not and have not been notified of any other outbreaks. Yes, sir.
Because I know the nursing home people are critical constituents and citizens here in Muskogee, and they need to be checked. And how often do the health department go out and check, make sure of this on all the nursing homes here in Muskogee? Not just one, but all of them. How often do y'all check? Or is that y'all responsibility? Or if it's not your responsibility, whose responsibility is for them to check every week or something to see the numbers and the cases are going up?
Right. So the Oklahoma State Department of Health has about 15 different divisions and departments within it. The long-term care facility, who handles all of the regulatory and sanitation and safety requirements at nursing homes, is who is handling all of the testing and outbreak mitigation. And so the county health department in Muskogee and in each county are not right now working or really even able to work directly with the nursing homes. It is the long-term care division of the Oklahoma State Department of Health who is there working with Eastgate and the other nursing homes on a day-to-day basis with their consultants that are in the facilities and are in one-on-one contact with the administrators at each of the facilities in the county and the city.
So in other words, we do have somebody working with the nursing homes on a daily basis, correct?
Yes, sir. We sure do.
And when the cases go up, you'll be notified, or someone will be notified, correct?
Yes, someone will be notified. That is correct.
Okay. Just double checking, Doug. Turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I have one more speaker, Ms. Trish German from Muskogee County EMS, to give an update for EMS.
Yes.
Good evening, Council. Muskogee County EMS, we've noticed that our call volume is still staying about the same as it was last week. We're still disinfecting like we're supposed to, fogging our units. We've got those peppers in for the medics to wear that's circulating fresh air for when we are transporting a ventilator patient or a respiratory patient. On a side note, I'll probably be mentioning this every week until Boo on the Flu. Flu season's coming up. Make sure everybody in here, community, reach out, get your flu shot. Boo on the Flu is going to be October 30th at Honor Heights Park. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact me at Muskogee County EMS. Do we have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes my update. If there's no questions, I'd like to turn the floor back over to Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Staff has nothing else at this time, and we'd be happy to answer any questions, or that concludes our staff report.
Mr. Miller, would you mind staying there for a minute? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Last week, we was talking about, back in July, I went back and checked this week, that the police department back in July, they went on TV and saying, you know, we're going to continue to wear masks and we're going to be masked up and this and that. But we've changed the rules, and I'm just wondering, would you read this for, I got it right here. You're the one who gave it to me. Would you read the police and the fire rules that they're going by now as far as covering?
Well, there's several pages.
No, I'll get more before you stop.
Huh?
I mean, that's all you want me to read it. It don't matter, but I just thought it'd be, you know.
Whatever the will of the council is, and those are publicly available, and I can make them publicly available to anybody.
Y'all want me to read it?
I would actually just personally like a hard copy, and I can read those for myself. And I imagine we can probably post them to the social media site. I mean, honestly, I don't see it's necessary to read the rules.
Well, Dr. Hoover, I disagree with you.
That's fine.
The reason it's necessary to read the rules is so we'll know the rules.
Well, that's what I said. And if you want to provide me with a hard copy, I'll read them. And then if we have any questions, we can move forward from that point. But as far as like taking time with the council meeting right now to have the rules read to me, I just don't think that's a good use of our time at this right now.
I did include those in the Friday report. Each one of the council members should have those, and if you'd like, we can certainly make those publicly available.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it ain't gonna take me but 2 minutes to read just what's on this paper here that we didn't have before, that we done changed since we done went up in cases. The rules have changed, you know, and I can't believe the council up here don't want me to read these little simple rules that citizens is listening to me right now that would help them, because all I'm trying to say is if the police officers pull them over, they have the option to say, put that face covering on.
That's correct.
But without me saying that, nobody knows. That's how we communicate with our citizens up here on this, because somebody's looking at us on Facebook right now, and also you're looking on Channel 14. I just figured, we could read this. I mean, I ain't never heard of this before. You can't read the rules, and you got it in place. I mean, that's something.
Councilor Van, I will say if the point you wanted to make to the residents that they can ask an officer to wear a mask if they're stopped, if that was the highlight and change, was that?
Yeah, that was a highlight and change. That was a highlight and change. There was some few more other things on there, but like I say, since y'all don't want me to read it, and everybody's got internet and go on and find what they want to do, I guess they can read it, do it, find out themselves. But I just hate for an officer to pull a citizen over and they don't have a mask on, and then the people don't know to tell the officer that when you're pulling me over, I would like you to put your mask on, since we don't mandate mask up here, and and we're in the red state. I just thought that would be, the thing to do, but I guess it's not. So, since I can't read this, and I can't read it, so hey, just getting information out there to the people. That's what we're up here for, right? Am I wrong?
I think we can just make a note to the audience that, if you're pulled over by a police officer, you can ask them to wear a mask.
Okay.
I mean, I'm agreeing with you. That's good that we said that just now.
Because they wouldn't have known it if I hadn't said it.
That's correct.
Because,
to my point, I think that we could have just highlighted that instead of reading the rules, but I don't want to turn this into an issue with you at this time. So.
Well, it's not an issue, Dr. Hughes. This is something that needs to be said. We up here as councilmen, we're supposed to be relaying messages to our constituents. That's what I'm up here for. I'm up here for nothing else but working for my constituents. I'm not up here working for myself. That's all. And I didn't think of nothing wrong with me just reading the rules right quick, because they just came down past week. They changed it. They were different in July. And July wasn't as bad as it is now. So I'm just, but I'll turn the floor back over to Mr. Chairman. I understand. Y'all don't want them to know, so hey.
But I think you made your point, Mr. Van.
Thank you.
That they should have the right to know that they
can. They should have the right to know. I don't think it would hurt anything just by reading a little simple 2-minute thing or less than that. I'm sorry. I apologize if I.
No apologies necessary.
No offense taken.
I apologize if I'm already trying to help my citizens. I'll turn the floor back over, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Is there anything else for staff?
Mr. Chairman, can I be recognized?
Yes.
I had a question on the mitigation. I know that we put in the mitigation plans for all the restaurants and things like that. Do we have an update on that?
Would you clarify? I mean, we have had them submit their mitigation plans.
Do we follow up? Do we follow up with any of the restaurants and what they're doing? The question being, I received several calls, and if you go to the restaurants, you're finding that they are supposed to have a mitigation plan, but a lot of them are not using it. Do we have a follow-up plan to make sure that things are being done that they say that's in the mitigation, or we just receive a plan at the city and that's it?
So the City Council has adopted the state's plan, and the state's guidelines we're in stage 3. which requires very limited to no mitigation plans in effect. So the mitigation plans that were put in place back in, February, March, April timeframe, when we were doing those, we were in a much more restricted environment as adopted by the City Council. And so the City Council has adopted the state's guidelines. We're in phase 3. So we are not enforcing those guidelines that were those mitigation plans that were put in effect at that time because because this group as a body has said that we're not in that phase currently.
Okay, so the mitigations have been lifted. Okay, that's just what I want to make sure. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me ask you one more question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
By me asking just to read this right here, and the committee, we're a committee right now, and the committee turns me down over reading a little something. Do I need to vote on reading something next time? Because I thought sitting up here as a city councilman, I could read anything I want to read that's got to do with the public and my constituents.
We didn't tell you couldn't read it. Dr. Who's just suggested that if you wanted to provide it, that they can read it themselves.
But I took it as saying sitting up here and me reading it is a waste of time. No, it's not a waste of time to read this. I don't waste my time up here like that. That's what Dr. Who says. Thinks in his mind it's a waste of time.
No, sir. I don't think it's a waste of time. I just think that we could highlight the points versus reading a full statement. But my apologies if it came across that way, and I did think I said it was a waste of our time, which I probably should chose better words for that.
I think you should have, Dr.
But it's whatever the council wants.
Is there one particular section you'd like to read?
No, I was just going to read what the chief put together this week when we was in a meeting. And it's a new rule, so I figured people would need to know about it. And that's why I asked Mr. Miller to read it, because Mr. Miller the one sent it to me because I requested for it. Because when you change in rules, our constituents need to know about it. Coronavirus is very, very serious here in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And when an officer pulls you over and don't have a mask on, he's all in your face. I got a problem. I still got a problem with that. And that's, but like I said, the way the rules are now, you don't have to have that mask on, which I think is wrong. But that's just me. And I just thought by the police chief writing his new rules out that we could express it to our citizens and let them know that they have the right and other things going on to express to the police officers that they have the right to tell them to put that mask on when they're talking in their face. That's just basically, I learned something. I learn something up here every single time I'm sitting in this seat. I learned something. I guess it's just a messenger, though. So I'll accept your apology, Dr. Hughes, but I think that was wrong of you. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have no citizens signed up to speak to this agenda item. We are adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, I was looking over the Finance Committee. I have 18 items, and I'm willing, if it's permissible, to let Councilman Hibbs go ahead with Public Works.
Public Works.
Since we have people signed to speak.
Chairman Hibbs.
We'll call to order the Public Works meeting of September 21st, 2020. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of August 17, 2020.
Move for approval.
Second.
Do we have any discussion on the minutes? Roll call. I'm sorry, Evelyn. This is your meeting. I'm so sorry. Let me just close my book.
Circus. Okay, roll call, Tammy.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4105A to rezone 101.59 acres located at 4412 West Hancock Road, more particularly described in the ordinance, from R1 Single Family Residential District to A1 Agricultural District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
I will open the public hearing. Ms. Callahan.
Thank you, Chairperson Hibbs and committee members. This is, as soon as everything gets switched around, the committee's being switched, we'll get the presentation up in just a minute. We are very thankful for our IT people. yeah. I am. To have to try to figure these out this morning had the glitch with equipment, and they fixed it right away, so I really appreciate it. It's a separate item, not under a folder. It's the date. There it is. Thank you. All right, here we go. This is a request from Travis and Bridget Bearden to rezone property that is 101.59 acres. It is a request from the R1 single-family residential to the A1 agricultural district. It is to allow for agricultural use in the future. This is the area that is being requested to be rezoned. It is located approximately 520 feet south of the Eagle Crest property lines, and it extends from 40th to 48th and then along Hancock. This is the existing zones in the area. You'll see the blue is of the hashtags are all outside city limits. The lime green is already currently agriculture, and the white is single-family residential. This is south. It is outside city limits, and it is agriculture use. To the southeast is outside city limits, agriculture use. To the east is zoned A1 agriculture, and it is a single-family home, and that's along 40th Street facing east. To the west is outside city limits, and it is agriculture use. The 101.59 acres, like I said, is approximately 520 feet south of Eagle Crest along 40th and 48th. That means the 520 feet would be zoned agriculture. The remaining would be residential, and they're also required to keep 150 feet mowed that's abutting residential. So there's 670 feet that would be maintained as a residential. A1 does comply with the comprehensive plan and future land use map. Staff and planning commission recommend approval. The applicants are here if you have any questions or if you need to make a presentation.
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes.
We need to close the hearing first.
Let me close the public hearing first, Ivory. Okay.
Ready?
Mr. Van?
Okay. The Beartons, they live in my ward, which is Ward 3, and they want to have it zoned agricultural. And it's good to teach kids something about animals, because a lot of kids don't know anything about animals, like cows, how to feed them, hogs, chickens, pigs, just anything. But I'm for this, and like I was talking to the Beartons the other day, agriculture is very important here in the state of Oklahoma, and I hope your kids learn a lot about it and y'all teach them a lot about it. Because like I say, it's nothing like going outside and getting a fresh egg. Because an egg that's grown, a chicken that's in the country, the yellow yolk is a lot yellower than the one you buy in the store. And it tastes so much different. The beef tastes so much different when you go get it processed and you raise it and feed it yourself. And it's also the hogs. So, like I said, teach your kids about, what they eat. Because a lot of kids, unfortunately, I got kids, I raised this stuff and I grew up like this, but my kids don't want nothing to do with country life at all. So, like I said, I'll make a motion myself to approve this, and for the Beartons to have this land zoned agriculture.
A second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more council discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
The motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider approval of the final plat of Bushwood Estates consisting of 8 lots and 2 blocks on 1.97 acres located south of amended Eagle Crest Estates, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Callahan?
Thank you, Chair. This is a request from Travis and Bridget Bearden. It is for the final plat of the Bushwood Estates. It's 8 lots and 2 blocks, 1.97 acres. The preliminary plat was approved back in May of 2020. It is to allow for residential development. This is the location of the property. It comes off of the Crestview Avenue off of Eagle Crest. This is a wider picture of the entire south portion of Eagle Crest subdivision with the Bushwood Estates on the west side. These are some designs, homes. This is one that they have built that was for sale in Warner, and just some design ideas that they submitted to get an idea of the development. In the preliminary plat and also in a subdivision this size with development of existing vacant land, it is required to have a drainage study, and they did contract with Holloway, Updike and Bellin to present the drainage report. This is the map of the drainage report. It shows the outline that they are including up to 31 acres in the study, not just the 1.97 acres. This shows where the detention is coming off an existing 20-foot utility and drainage easement along in the addition, and then it would drop into a detention pond, so that the water would not be retained. It would just be detained, and then it would flow, and it does keep the flow from backing up into the Eagle Crest area. And this is the final plat. Planning Commission did table the item to a special call meeting for Monday, September 28th at 9 o'clock. This was to get an additional review with the city's engineering firm that we have a retainer with to review the drainage study, because we do not have a professional engineer on staff to review the drainage report. It was asked to have it reviewed by an outside source. So that is the recommendation for staff and for Planning Commission to have it move forward without any recommendation. Be happy to answer any questions, and the Beardens are here to answer any questions or make a presentation if needed.
We have anybody signed up to speak to this, Trish?
Yes, there was 2 that were signed up to speak. They can have the applicants can speak. I didn't know if you wanted to go ahead and speak or wait, or they'll wait.
We're going to wait.
We did have one that was. Come on up and just say your name.
Just give your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Sarah Taylor, 2203 Elliott Street, Muskogee. I am a Hilldale High School graduate. I'm an NSU graduate, so I was raised here. I work for the VA. I'm a good federal employee of Muskogee. And as you guys know, many VA employees choose to live outside of Muskogee for several reasons. I know Muskogee is being evolving, so that's great to see. I will be a first-time home buyer of one of these 8 houses that are on this initial plat. I'm attempting to put my income back into Muskogee. It's a good plan. It's a good plan. I've been hesitant. Honestly, I've been hesitant to buy in Muskogee. I live in a rental now. I've been hesitant to buy in Muskogee, and I'll tell you why. My job with the VA, sometimes opportunities come up, and I'm not tied down here. And so when I think about buying a house here, I think, I try to think ahead, try to make good decisions, and I think, well, a house that I'd be able to afford potentially may not have the resale value and may take quite a bit of time that would hinder me from being able to take a better job opportunity. I mean, I love my job now, but just in case, you got to think about those things. So I've been hesitant to buy in Muskogee. However, my friends, the Beardens, came up with this idea. Well, they've been building for years and years, and I was not looking to buy or build at the time. This idea came up last summer, but as Bridget was telling me about it, I was like, you know what? This would actually be a good opportunity for me. I believe the houses in this subdivision that they're going to build will be quality houses. If any of you know Travis Bearden, that guy is a perfectionist. His work in houses is impeccable. I've been in several of their houses that he's built, from Missouri to Muskogee. Me and Bridget went to Hilldale together, but anyway, his craftsmanship is impressive. For Muskogee, I believe this subdivision will be assets to the community, and I believe the resale value on them will be no problem. And the amount of time it would take to sell one after I decide to move on, if that's the plan, wouldn't hinder me. So I just wanted you guys to put a face with one of these houses that will hopefully be mine in the near future. I'm excited to make this leap. However, I would like to take advantage of the interest rates that are super low right now, but the more this process is delayed, the harder it's going to be for me to do that. So I would encourage the council to move forward and approve this motion this week and next week. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. We appreciate you. Ms. Bush will speak.
She got too shy and didn't have anything probably better to add or different to add, but she's another homeowner that was waiting for the subdivision to be finalized. But that is staff recommendation based on Planning Commission's recommendation is to move it forward without action. And I really appreciate our city attorney, Roy Tucker, attending the meeting, making the suggestion to have the special call meeting on that Monday morning to where their recommendation could then be forwarded to city council on next Monday night at 5:30.
So do we need to
Close the
There wasn't a public hearing. It's just to make a motion to take no action, or if it's no action needed.
The motion would.
Sorry.
The motion would be to move forward with that recommendation.
Move for approval.
Now, Roy, that is the planning and zoning's recommendation. Like I said, I think it's better to have another opinion as far as the drainage. So I want to make sure this is perfectly clear that we're going to do this next Monday, and so that they're going to do this next Monday.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. If that's the case, I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Have a second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
The motion passed. Item number 4.
Consider approval of change order number 3 for the removal of additional concrete and steel within the raw sewage pump station at the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $53,326.06, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, I'm going to have Stephen Morton come up and assist on this item, and our engineer Steve Toller is here in case there's any technical questions, and I'm here to assist if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Good evening, committee. This change order is for the work done at the wastewater treatment plant. This is the first one requested by the contractor, and the change order is in the amount of $53,326, and the contract is requesting 150 additional days due to additional work for the removal of the concrete and rebar from the raw sewage pump station. The concrete had to be rubberized and removed in a crane bucket because larger concrete they were unable to remove in larger chunks. So the newly revised contract change order is $3,126,697.36, and staff recommends approval of change order number 3. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions, and as Mr. Stewart said, anything technical, we will be deferring to Mr. Stephen Toller.
Any discussion from council? Have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 5.
Receive report on the status of the initial phase of the multi-phase evaluation program on employee wage rates for the city of Muskogee and take other necessary action.
Any discussion?
I didn't want to start, Council, until you,
Mayor?
yes, ma'am. Thank you. Several years ago, particularly in 2014, I believe that the only 3 of us here that were there then were myself, Councilor Van, and Councilor Reed as council people. We know that 2 of the most dreaded words to say in City Hall at that time were "haste study." And so what the council did in 2019 was come together and establish a committee that would replace the haste study with a compensation review committee. And the goal was to evaluate the best practices of reviewing compensation and wages and a recommended system for adoption that will replace the haste study. The haste study was initially designed and is designed in several organizations across the country to evaluate pay in comparison to job descriptions and job duties. And so because we were having so many difficulties and so many problems trying to establish a mechanism for the haste study to work with our employees in the city of Muskogee, the council took action to move in a different direction and establish a committee. And I want to take this opportunity to thank those members of that committee who are listening and watching, because those few members are now doing the work of what a paid organization would do in terms of collecting the data, assessing the data, analyzing the data, and then making a concrete recommendation to the council at some point in the coming months. The sample group that we wanted to look at in terms of how we would review or change how we look at pay was the Sanitation Department. One reason that the Sanitation Department was selected was because they have one of the highest turnovers and some of the lowest pay. And so we wanted to take a sample group, apply our findings to the sample group, and with the successes of those, then further apply those changes across the rest of the employee organizations within the city. The committee is made up of the city manager, the human resources director, the mayor, and 1 representative from each of the employee groups, and that was by adoption of the council in 2019. The goal is to develop or adopt a methodology that evaluates wages and the existing classification standards and chart a path to improving employee compensation. One of the things that's always near and dear to the council is being certain that while we know city employees across the country don't make a king's ransom, certainly we want to move as many of them away from the poverty line as we could, and that's why we're looking at these proposals for improving how we recommend their compensation packages. So the sample group, as we stated earlier, is the Sanitation Department. And I'm going to go ahead and say that 50 or plus years ago, one of the things that we remember as a vivid image was the sanitation workers protesting in Memphis, Tennessee. And they were successful in working with Dr. King for the I Am a Man speech, I Am a Man protest that they had in Memphis that was protesting against the low wages that our sanitation workers across the country were making at the time. And certainly in Muskogee, we want to take the opportunity to lead that effort by using that sample group, our sanitation workers, to do what we can to raise their wages. They were selected because of the high turnover associated with low wages. When a system is developed, we will recommend applying it to the sample group, and that will come before the council as soon as the committee is done with their work. The overall outcome is that the success of the new system in the sample group will be applied across all employee sections, because we all believe that we need to take care of our employees in terms of their wages. So here's an example, because the question that's always asked when we talk about compensation is, who's going to pay for it, or how are we going to pay for it? And these are just examples of how we can get to where we're going in terms of how we take care of our employees. One, a reclassification of job duties from the collection from the drivers. And so finding out from them what they're actually doing, salary adjustments to be competitive with drivers and laborers from other cities where applicable, and to reduce turnover. And I should have said this is the sample outcome that we want to have. These are some of the sample outcomes that we want to have. Accurate job descriptions, salary adjustments that are competitive, particularly with the drivers, and then reduce the turnover rate. Now, here are the examples of how we might be able to get there in terms of finances. One, many organizations, federal, state, private even, have position staffing plans in place. And when it adopts a position staffing plan, it highlights the number of positions that you can actually have within the city, within the government, state, federal, or local. And what that position staffing plan does is it's used as a mechanism to manage the budget. That way we know what we may have in terms of trying to offer some of our employees a better rate. They could always be managed by a budget adjustment or budget amendment, or they could also be done through the negotiation process when it's time for us to talk to our negotiator, who then in turn talks to the unions. Hopefully we may be in a position at some point where we can say to them that we want to look at these targeted areas because they're the areas that are hurting the most. So where are we today? The committee is in the process of finalizing data collection on job classification, existing pay and comparable pay to similar job functions in other cities. This has been probably the most labor-intensive part of the committee's work. It started off as a group, then it went back to HR, then it came back to us as a group. So we have a lot of back and forth, making certain that we don't overtax any one particular person or group within the committee, but we are working together to be certain that we finalize that data collection process. There was a delay in the committee's progress due to COVID-19, so we want to say that to the employees because we don't want them to think that we talked about doing something that we didn't do. COVID-19 was the unknown for many of our government entities that delayed the process. But those recommendations we hope will be coming forward on how we could proceed with compensation packages in the coming months. And that was my presentation, more of just an update to the council, to the committee, to the community, and more importantly to our employees, to let them know that we have not forgotten about what we said we would do.
So there will be no action on this?
No action.
Does the council have anything they would like to say or add to?
I'd like to thank Mayor Coleman for bringing this back to our attention because, like I say, the sanitation workers are in the water department and those areas of our city facilities, they need to be paid more money than what they receive, you know, and that's what it's about, what you can make, you know. Everybody wants to get paid a good salary because we've lost several people that went to other cities. I mean, several good people had a lot of knowledge. And I'm not going to name their names, but seriously, I know one, especially in the water department. He went to another city, and this man, he was degreed up. And sad when we have to take a man that's making $17 an hour, he goes to another city and make $25 an hour. Would you go? Yes, you would. But I'm just saying, you know, it's sad that Muskogee, we can do better than what we do. You know, like I said, we're top heavy. When it comes to the sanitation workers, the water department workers, and other workers, animal shelter workers, and stuff like that, we just seem like we just don't pay them enough. We don't pay them enough. I ain't gonna say we don't seem like we don't pay them enough. We do not pay them enough compared to other cities. So, like you say, when that Hayes study come out, that was a joke. You know, but I just appreciate you bringing it to our attention again. And like I say, I'm for getting them. They got good benefits, but you got to have some pay to go along with it. Turn the floor back over to Ms. Term. Ms. Term.
Item number 6.
Receive report on the city's multi-year street plan, including updates on current projects and upcoming CIP street projects, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Oh, yes, sir.
Good evening. So I'm going to start by addressing this report that we were asked to put together due to the fact that we have several new council members that have not seen or know the history of the street program and how we got there. So the PowerPoint that I've got put together is going to show some slides that were presented in 2018 at a council retreat, and then were updated, I think, at a recent council meeting last year that I wasn't attending. But anyway, this is an update for you on the street program, and You can either interrupt me if you have questions, or we can get to them at the end, but some of the questions you may have may be answered further into the PowerPoint. So we'll start by saying that for fiscal year 2021, we're currently doing $10 million in street projects. And 2021 street program started in July 1st of this year. And a couple of those programs are street things that are going to expend that $10 million are the Northeast Zone, which is going to be bid in the next couple of weeks. The city and county match, which I'll get to in just a minute in the next slide. 24th and the EDA projects are underway. All those projects together with what we're spending are going to equal or probably exceed that $10 million mark. So current projects that we're working on. We've got the 43rd, 45th, and Hancock Street project, which is an EDA foundation match. It's an $800,000 project, and this is actually a continuation of a $3 million EDA grant that we had to do 43rd and 45th Street. This project is underway, and that is 43rd Street. And by the way, that picture was taken several days ago. It is now striped and all but complete. Almost all the roadwork portion of this project is done. We still have the traffic signal portion to go, and that is going to take quite some time because the mast arms and the things that have to be ordered take a delivery. It's 120 days. Majority of the work, though, is complete on it. Looks rather good if you've been out there. So another project we're working on is the Eda Medical District. As soon as we finished with the EDA project on the 43rd and 45th, we were able to apply for another grant. It's a $3 million grant with $2.1 million of it aimed directly into the streets. The rest of it is the background money that has to go along with it. But we're trying to make sure that Denver Street around on the back side of the hospital, and I know you've all been back there where the curve is where it's so bad. That is the primary street, 36th and 38th, and 37th actually is part of that, depending on how far that 2.1 million will go. Right now we're just in the application process. So the medical district, just so you know, is bounded on the north by Oklahoma and Broadway. It's bounded on the east by 29th Street. It's bounded on the south by Denver Street, and it's bounded on the west by 48th. That project is moving along. We hope to have that grant application out very soon. We're also working on the Smith Ferry Road project. That's one that we're doing with the Creek Nation in the Hilldale School District. It's one of the things I really was disappointed I didn't get accomplished in my last time I was here, but with Mr. Miller's help and bringing the Creek Nation in, we were able to find funding. That's almost a $4.5 million support from the Creek Nation. It's currently being designed and developed. It's got stormwater in it. As you can see, that's the white part. I don't know if that slide comes through very well, but the white portion is actually Hilldale High School. And there's a detention basin on the east end on the south side that's going to help alleviate some of that flooding out there. And it will also help with the downstream flooding toward the Meadow subdivision. It won't stop that flooding, but it will help slow that down and not contribute any more to it. It will also put a 3-lane concrete in front of the Hilldale High School, which is very much needed. I don't know if you've been out there, but it's very narrow. It floods. It's dangerous when it's icy. And we have new kids out there with new driver's licenses, and we want to take that into consideration. We're also looking at the Country Club Road projects. There's one on the north part that's north of Chandler, and there's one on the south part that is south of Chandler. Both those projects together are about $2 million. One's an $800,000 on the north and 1.2 on the south. The north portion goes by those mini storages, and what that really is to do is to put a new box culvert in there where that low water drainage is. And I don't know if you're familiar, but we have flooding there all the time, and we've had to have many rescues in that area when we have water events. This project is a stormwater project actually, but it will get some street improvements, and that box culvert's being designed to to compensate for future road development in that area too. The south portion of Country Club is what goes in front of Creek Elementary School, and that's where we have a terrible traffic backup whenever the parents are letting the kids off in the morning or picking them up in the evening. There's no room to stack traffic, and it actually can congest in front of the fire department there and cause problems for them getting out for emergency responses. So this will get us a 3-lane concrete in front of that area. It will get new storm drainage and some improvements to that too. We hope to have both of these country club projects, by the way, out to bid by first of the year. Both of them are just almost complete now. We do need some utility work on them to get the utilities located to make sure they don't conflict with any of our underground drainage. The 24th Okmulgee to Shawnee area, and actually 24th Street itself, has got paved. I've been in contact with the contractor. We're looking at next week having some type of an opening dedication for the area between Okmulgee and Broadway. I'm not ready to tell you just what day, but it will be next week or week after, very early. Very, very pleased with the progress that we're making on that currently. There's full crews out there every day, and the project is moving along. Hancock and South York, that's a city-county split. I don't know whether you've been out there, but Hancock from York to Country Club has been, the drainage has been improved by the county. The road has been paved. Both layers are on it now. Looks very good. And that's a split with us and them. They did the labor, and we're going to share in the cost. And they're currently working on South York Street. That's from Smith Ferry to Peak. They've pulled the drainage. I wasn't out there today, but they were getting ready to start putting their leveling course down on it. And that's a picture of Hancock. And if you go out there today, that's looking from Country Club back to the west. If you go out there today, you're going to see a lot different snapshot because it's paved now. And we've got the southeast zone that we're starting to do. That's a $1.8 million project, which you approved. We actually signed the notice to proceed on the micro-surfacing. It'll start October 5th. And then we are meeting with the mill and overlay crews. They're going to sign a notice to proceed this week too, and we'll have the date that they're going to start. We anticipate it to be the first or second week of October also. And that's a picture of the southeast zone and all the work that we're going to do and the improvements. So this slide is from 2018, and in 2018 we took a report that we had from a company called IMS, and IMS was Infrastructure Management Systems, and they came to town and actually drove down every street in town. They had a van that had 6 cameras on it, and they recorded deflections, steel shots, and did a real review of our streets. And they gave us a PCI rating. And that PCI it stands for Pavement Condition Index. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're using now to develop our street program and move forward. But in 2018, when we gave this slide, we saw that there was a $68 million deferred maintenance level. And that's something that we just didn't know how we were going to overcome. Of course, maintenance investments are preferred. And what we looked at was trying to use existing, or not looked at, but existing funding was not adequate to maintain pavement conditions. We needed some kind of action from City Council, and again, that's why we put all this stuff together. And we looked at the fact that we needed new revenues to be established for street maintenance. I'm gonna take my breath just a second. This mask has me where I've got to take a deep breath every now and then. The slide that you're looking at in front of you is kind of self-explanatory. We all know that pavement, if it's not maintained, is going to deteriorate over time. Mm-hmm. And what this slide really reflects is that if you don't catch it sometime between that very good and good point, you're just going to continue to spend more money on your streets. Yes. What we ultimately need is what's in the bottom right corner, and that's that we've got a graph there that shows that we do maintain it at a certain level, and it will continue to go up and continue to fail and continue to go up. In a cycle that we can actually maintain, and that's the purpose of that. In 2018, when we were talking, we were explaining what our street funding, our traditional street funding is, and the state funding for gasoline tax at the time was $70,000 annually. The state funding commercial vehicle tax was $250,000. We did pass with Mayor Hammond's support a permanent street sales tax, and it brought in 1.5 million yearly. And then we were supplementing it with the general fund by 150,000, which brought us to almost 2 million a year. Now let me show you where that 2 million went. So the first line up there is debt service. When you take the street projects to the left, 24th Martin Luther King in York, we went out and borrowed $10 million to start those jobs. And by the way, if you see 24th Street, you see 2.2 million, and the project actually bid 4.5. But we borrowed 10 million to do those projects, and out of that 10 million, we're having to pay annually 864,000 in debt service. And I think that goes through 2027, by the way, just so you know. The ODOT utility relocation, and I'm really proud to announce this one, the $98,000 that we had to pay ODOT annually was for utility relocation on the north end when they widened that. We had to actually pay that, and that was a 10-year debt that we had, and this year we actually are making our last payment. So I'm really, really proud to be there. We also use $90,000 annually in traffic signals, and then again, our just regular street maintenance is $917, which brings us to the 197, which is the almost 2 million that I showed you what the revenue was in the slide previous. When we were talking back then, we were also looking at different cities and how different cities funded their streets and how much they spent. And by the way, CL stands for center line. So when you see CL, that's center line miles. So it's one direction. So looking at Broken Arrow, they've got about 500 center line miles, and they spend about $76,000 per lane mile, or per center line mile. Now, if you go down to the one in the red, and I cannot read that, but Muskogee's like $6,000 per center line mile and 310 miles. So you can see that we are one of the poorest funded street programs in this part of the state. When IMS ran that program for me many years ago, they told me just to maintain status quo, we needed to be spending $3 to $3.5 million on our city streets. And by the way, before we got to the $2 million a year, prior to, I'm going to say 2010, we were spending $500,000 a year on the streets. And what IMS was telling us was that we needed $3 to $3.5 million per year to maintain status quo, and that's to keep that PCI, which ours was a 58, from going down. And by the way, when I say PCI is Pavement Condition Index. Again, 100 is a brand new, perfect, pristine street, and when you start getting around 50, you start into the failings. So our goals were to eliminate maintenance and repair, the repair backlog over time, improve our current PCI, and try to hit somewhere in that neighborhood of that 3.5 million, and try to reach a 70 in our PSI to bring it from a 58 to a 70. That was our goal when we set forth the street program. We went to the street committee. They put forth together a 5-year street program, and actually I think that actually came with the permanent street taxes that we had to do a 5-year street program. And that 5-year street program broke the town into 5 districts. And as you can see, the southeast zone was last year, northeast zone is this current year, and it moves around, and you've got the central business district down in the center. We're actually finishing the southeast zone. That's what I told you will start next week, and we hope to have that northeast zone out to bid in the next couple of weeks. We've got 310 center line of miles, and that's kind of how it breaks down per district. We looked at different funding options back then, by the way. We looked at dedicated sales tax, GO bonds or general obligation bonds, special assessment districts, and that's where you have the local streets assessed to the neighborhoods in incremental taxes. And we also looked at maybe we could add to the general fund. We also looked at pursuing other grants from the FHWA, the EDA, which, as you well know, we're currently doing that, and we've got several partnerships going with, we did do one with the Cherokee Nation too, by the way, in front of the hospital a couple of years back, or in front of their clinic on 41st. So one of the recommendations was to keep the permanent 2.5% sales tax and add an additional .33, and that was to extend a portion of the existing .5 that was expiring that year, and that was approved, and that's what we're using right now. So currently, funding for the streets is 1.9. The future, well, actually, this is where we're at. The 33 cent or 0.33 cent sales tax extension with a foundation match is a total of $6 million for 4 years starting in 2020. And that's what we're going to start with that northeast zone, and then we're going to spend $6 million a year in each one of those zones. Because of limited funding to date for streets, the focus has been on arterial streets to keep the more heavily traveled streets in the best condition possible. And by the way, we have 3 classifications of street. We have arterial, which is our 4 lanes. We have collectors, which pretty much bound residential neighborhoods. And then we have local streets. And the easiest way to understand that is local streets feed out to the collectors that feed out to the arterials to take people where they need to go. So, for example, Elgin Street, 48th, 40th, those are collectors. That's where your country club would be a collector. That's where you'd feed out to. Residential streets have not received much attention and are aging to the point of this being a critical need. We had spent our money and our time and our focus making sure our arterials and our collectors were up to date with that previous funding, that we just did not spend money on residential streets, and that's why they're in the failing condition they are in, but that's also because we just didn't have the money. Residential streets, the current residential streets, we have 230 miles. Out of that 230, 178 of it is asphalt chip seal, or 178 is asphalt chip seal, and 52 of it is concrete. With an average PCI of 56, and the miles below the 60 PSI is 82, and the miles below 45 is 48. That's for the residential streets, by the way. So what was decided to do, or what the additional funding would allow to do, was to do 48 miles of that residential street under the 45, 20 miles where the PCI was between the 45 and the 60, repair all concrete streets under a 60, which is 6.5 miles, and again, the average PCI is 56, and we're hoping to bring that up to a 70 with all this work we're doing. And if you've seen the work going around town, that PCI is going up, and I am proud to report that, and hopefully we'll keep it going. The majority of collector streets in the city are residential in nature, streets that feed through the neighborhoods that collect traffic from smaller and local streets. Therefore, we will approach the residential collectors along with the residential streets. We're simply saying is that we'll try to work on these residential collectors along with the residentials, and we'll talk about the arterials in a minute. So on the residential collectors, we're going to be able to improve 8.5 miles. Under that 45, we're going to micro seal about 20 miles of them, and we're going to repair about 6.6 miles of the concrete. And again, trying to obtain that 70, that's our goal. Our current average arterial PCI is 68. And if you think about it, most of our arterials are in fairly good shape. When you drive the 4 lanes, York Street, Chandler Road, the ones that are under our maintenance, they are in fairly good condition. We just don't want to turn a blind eye to them and not keep them sealed and painted and the things they need to keep them from failing. We also have a very old traffic signal system. Most of them were installed in the 60s, and the plan that we're currently under will allow us to make some improvements to those traffic signals, as we are currently doing on Chandler Road out by 43rd and by 45th Street. All the additional work discussed will be contracted. Street crews will continue their normal work, and contracts will be completed as funding allows. And I want to emphasize the point there on the inspection. We have implemented some new programs that will help with that inspection. We are going to use in-house inspecting along with our supervisors and along with any contract inspectors that we have to use. Again, all that will be brought before you with every project that we develop. So other projects and funding used to enhance the plan, which we talked about the Hilldale Smith Ferry, we talked about the EDA project on 43rd and Hancock, the medical area, and as soon as we finish with that medical area, hopefully we'll be ready to apply for another EDA grant. And we will always continue to work with ODOT trying to find funding for any highway system improvements that take our signal lights and help to improve those. Total of over 100 miles of residential streets repaired over this plan. Plan rotates yearly between the 5 zones as we discussed earlier. Additional purpose funding and the citywide needs, it makes sense to continue the emphasis of each year's work in the zones. And that's something that I really like the way we've got it structured, that we're doing by zones. That way we're not going to have all this work done at once and it all fail at once. So we're moving forward. We're actually doing it at a pace that we can keep up with. We may be able to pick that pace up, but we'll see. That is the end of my report. I hope that informs you. I'm always available for questions, and I'll take any you might have now.
Sure, Matt. I just want to say thanks, Mike, for all your hard work, and we appreciate you and your staff for getting out there and getting things done and making these improvements.
And I appreciate you saying staff, because it definitely isn't all me.
I just like to say thanks, Mike, for the information. Thank you.
Mr. Stewart, I think it's also important to let the public know that streets such as Okmulgee are owned by ODOT.
Yes.
And not by the city of Muskogee.
So if they're on the highway system and they've got highway markings, or they're going through your community and they have business markings, like Okmulgee from Main Street to 69 is actually a business highway. So those are maintained by ODOT. And thank you, Mayor, for bringing that up.
Chairman, may I be recognized?
Mike?
May I be recognized?
Yes.
Yes, Mike. I was noticing out there on Hancock. I went out there, you know, the Hancock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you said that you and the county, the city and the counties combined on that project?
So there's actually 3 separate projects going out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'll go to Gulick Street and start traveling east,
Okay.
the area from Gulick to York Street is a city project that'll fall under the southeast zone.
Okay.
When you get to York Street and you pass the traffic signal and you're still continuing east, then you're going to hit a portion that's the city-county shared project, and that goes to Country Club. Then Country Club, you will skip almost to 41st Street, and then that is where the EDA project picked up and went out past the sewer plant. So the project's broke into 3 different districts, and they're all either underway or almost finished or soon to be underway.
Because when I was out there driving, I noticed those the tin horns. Look like they put new tin horns in also. On those between.
So the county has a program where they replace those that are not good. I don't know how their funding is on those, but that was their portion of the project.
That would be nice in our older communities if we had type of project like that, because in our Northern Ward 3, we have a lot of tin horns. You know, I tell people myself, you know, like when the Great All comes out there, you know, the person has to buy the tin horn, but the Great All, while it's there, if I'm not misunderstood, if that person has that tin horn out there, is the city allowed to put that in?
So our current ordinance has the property owner responsible for ingress and egress into the property. We will cooperate with them on the tin horn if they asked us. But if we pull it out and it fails, it's their responsibility to put it back in, as our ordinance is now.
Okay. Like I say, they've done a good job. I mean, they're doing a great job out there. Like I said, from Gulick all the way out.
I'm impressed. I think it looks great.
I was definitely impressed.
Mr. Garner says that whole section of town's looking good, and then when you throw the work in we've done on Grandview, we're really making that section of town look good.
I have one more question for you. I was looking at the picture on 24th Street there, where the water was holding right there on the street. Is that a reason for that?
Well, actually, that's a good thing that the water's holding. That tells me the street's sealed up pretty good. And the water will not come out of there until we actually pave it to the top layer, which will put it to the gutter height.
Okay.
And then it should get out of there. So when the next layer goes down and there's water standing, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Right now, you're going to expect to see some standing on it.
That's why I ask questions. If I don't know, I ask you. Or I ask somebody that knows.
I don't know.
You know, but I think you're doing a great job, Mike. And
thank you.
Yeah. Like I say, the county also, they do great work.
That's a good job out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. Every councilman and mayor, I go out there and look at it. I'm serious. I drive around and look at things.
Mr. Mike, we appreciate you. There's no action required on this item. We have nobody signed up to speak. So this concludes our meeting.
Want to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for September the 21st, 2020. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of August 17, 2020.
Reviewing of the minutes, are there any?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our minutes. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments August 8, 2020 through September 11, 2020.
Have a
The
report.
purchasing committee did meet this afternoon, and we approved all claims, so I move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2828 declaring a parcel of property located within the 700 block of North E Street, more particularly described in the resolution as surplus to the needs of the city, and authorize the conveyance of said property or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the parcel is located within the 700 block of North E Street. It's between Houston and Galveston on E Street. We received an application from Martha Garcia requesting the property. The property consists of approximately 9,600 square feet. Therefore, it is a buildable lot. Since it is a buildable lot, we're required to post it for 10 days to see if anyone else is interested in the property. Garcia was the only bidder. Her bid amount was $400. She owns or rents the property next door and plans on building on this property sometime in the future. I'd recommend approval of Resolution 2828 declaring the property surplus, authorize the conveyance of the property to the Garcias in the amount of $400.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2830, declaring a parcel of property located within the 2200 block of Love Street, more particularly described in the resolution, as surplus to the needs of the city, and authorize the conveyance of said property or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
There was a typo on this agenda item when the agenda was when the agenda item was sent to the clerk's office. It said 2200 block. It's actually the 2500 block of Love Street because it's west of 24th Street. We did receive an application from Glenn Brown. He's requesting the property to expand his yard. The property consists of 7,000 square feet. It is not a buildable lot, and according to the ordinance, it can only go to the abutting property owners so they can expand their yard. Mr. Brown owns the adjacent property, so we are recommending approval of Resolution 2830. Glad to answer any questions.
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2831, declaring a parcel of property located at 2621 Elgin, more particularly described in the resolution, as surplus to the needs of the city, and authorize the conveyance of said property or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
The property is located at 2621 Elgin Street, which is east of 28th Street on Elgin. We received an application from Roscoe Beasley Sr. Requesting the property. The property consists of 13,200 square feet. Again, it's a buildable lot, so it was posted the required 10 days. Mr. Beasley was the only one who submitted a bid. His bid amount was $363. He said he plans on building on the property sometime in the future. We are recommending approval of Resolution 2831.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout. Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 5 passes. Item number 6, please.
Consider approval of Resolution Number 2832, declaring a parcel of property located at 720 Hamilton, more particularly described in the resolution as surplus to the needs of the city, and authorize the conveyance of said property or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garber.
This parcel is located at 720 Hamilton Street. It's on the corner of Hamilton and H Street. The parcel consists of 15,000 square feet. Brittany Beasley requested the property, submitted an application. Again, it's a buildable lot, so it was posted the required 10 days. She was the only bidder. Her bid amount was $363. We recommend approval of Resolution 2832.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 6 passes. Item number 7, please.
Consider approval of Resolution Number 2833, declaring a parcel of property located at 508 Callahan, more particularly described in the resolution, as surplus to the needs of the city, and authorize the conveyance of said property or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garber.
This property is located at 508 Callahan Street. It's west of F Street on Callahan. David Beasley made a request for this property. It consists of 9,400 square feet. Since it is a buildable lot, we did post it for the required 10 days. Mr. Beasley was the only one who submitted an application or a bid. His bid amount was $363. So we are recommending approval of Resolution 2833.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 7 passes. Item number 8, please.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute temporary services / staffing services agreements with Action Group Staffing as the city's primary source for temporary staffing needs, and with Express Employment Professionals as the city's secondary source for temporary staffing needs, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Pluckett.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, a few months ago, I was made aware that our spend for temporary services through various temporary agencies was above the amount that we should be spending without council approval. We have gone out for requests for proposal for temporary staffing agencies to evaluate and try to get a contract with one single source and then a primary source as a backup. Currently, we utilize Premier USA, Action Group Staffing, Express Personnel, and Muskogee Staffing Solutions. And we are looking at recommending a sole source as Action Group Staffing with a secondary source, if needed, to be utilized, utilize Express Employment Professionals if need be. We have about 37 temporary employees right now. Consideration could be made from the council to potentially bring some of those employees on as city employees. That would be at your will. We do utilize some of these employees all year round. Some of them are grant positions, kind of like the CIC. We pay for them. So that is something that you could consider as well. There is an upcharge with staffing services, of course. Anywhere from about 33 to 42%, depending on the service. But we would recommend, of course, the sole source for Action Group Staffing and the secondary source as Express Employment Services. And happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Ms. Pluckett?
How much do we spend on staffing? As I read, if I read it right, about $500,000?
Yes, ma'am. If I recall, it was just a little over $500,000 in 2019-20.
that versus bringing in-house? You got a comparison of that?
We don't have a comparison right now because we're self-insured for the workers' comp. Of course, we can't project in the future, I don't think, what the workers' comp cost potentially could be. But of course, we can see the upcharges that the staffing agencies are providing or requiring.
Or can I get something like that give us a look at what it looks like bringing it in-house versus staffing? Are you able to do that, Mike?
For your workers' comp? Can you get the workers' comp costs, the potential moving forward? Okay, yeah, we can, and we can do that for the different positions for the staffing agencies, of course.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Somebody recognize?
Yes.
On this temporary staffing, what jobs are involved? I mean, you know, what do we need them for? Doing the summertime mostly, or just, you know?
Some of them are during the summertime. A lot of them are utilized from about March until November for mowing positions. Some of them are used over at the YVC Center for the Youth Volunteer Corps. We have streets positions. We have environmental control. Of course, we have sanitation when we need sanitation workers to fill in. We have some at the cemetery, and then we also have some at the airport.
The reason I was asking that, you know, if it's summer, I can understand, but, you know, if we need some more employees, it look like instead of using the temp service, we need to pay these employees to help out the city. I mean, you know, to go to work permanently for the city. So when I worked at Georgia Pacific, they used to get me right there. They done a lot of temp, you know, hiring temps, which is, I mean, you know, that's just taken away from jobs where you don't have to pay the benefits, you know, to the temps.
One of the things to consider, if we were to bring some of those employees on, they wouldn't be full-time employees, so they still would not receive benefits with us. Some of them could be, but the potential for a full-time employee, but most of them don't work 40 hours a week. And then some of them we may need to consider hiring, like we do the seasonal folks for the lifeguards or the concession workers, where they're just hired on a temporary basis every year.
I was just curious. Turn the floor back over, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Tammy, I don't believe, do I have a motion? Do I have a motion, or do we have any further discussion?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 8 passes. Item number 9, please.
Consider approval to amend the Navaline Financial Software Agreement to move from an on-premise solution to a hosted solution and to allow for improved backup and disaster recovery or take other necessary action.
Mr. Cummins?
Good evening, Chairman and committee. So right now, our financial software, which is Navaline, currently resides on 2 servers here at the city, one in our server room and one out at the water plant to provide some redundancy. We're proposing moving the system from our servers on our premises to remote servers provided by the software company. This gives us an advantage that allows us to leverage their resources to provide quicker disaster recovery than we can now, and to be able to respond and to provide business continuity for the city of Muskogee in the event of a disaster. It also transfers the responsibility of purchasing and maintaining current hardware, software, and providing the business continuity services to the software company. Our software will be hosted in two different data centers across the country to ensure that business can continue in the event of a disaster here in Muskogee, or even in the event of a disaster at one of their data centers. I recommend approval to amend this agreement and allow us to move from an on-premise system to a hosted solution. Any questions?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion?
I was just curious, what states would it be moved to?
One I know is Florida, and I think the other is Arizona.
Okay.
I would have to verify that, but they're several states away from each other, one in the east, one in the west.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 9 passes. Item number 10, please.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with UniFirst Uniform Company to furnish uniforms to the City of Muskogee employees or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes, Chairman and Committee, the city currently uses UniFirst, for your information, and has for the last 6 years. We formed a committee of employees from Parks, Facilities, Street, Traffic, and Projects, and all the ones on the committee, after review of the proposals, decided to award it towards, or recommend award it toward UniFirst. We also looked to see if this was in budget with what we currently have, and it was. This contract would go from now till June 30th, and then at June 30th, it has a 1-year contract extension that could be utilized, and there are also 2 other 1-year contract extensions in there. This would get all new uniforms, pants, shirts, and jackets, and again, with the committee unanimously recommending UniFirst, 6 years with them, we recommend approval. And the purchasing committee did approve this today.
Thank you. Any questions or a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 10 passes. Item number 11, please.
Consider approval to ratify the application for the 2021 Oklahoma Emergency Management Performance Grant in the amount of $25,000 or take other necessary action.
Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chairman, members of committee, this is our yearly emergency management performance grant that we applied for the past several years. It's a $25,000 grant. It is a performance-based grant. There's certain requirements throughout the year, such as training, attending conferences, trainings, and hosting scenarios that must be completed to receive this grant. Like I said, this is nothing new. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions? Motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 11 passes. Item number 12, please.
Consider approval to accept the 2020 Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act Peer Support Implementation Project Grant through the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services in the amount of $121,299 or take other necessary action.
Chief Teehee?
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, this is the grant that you allowed us to apply for last week that we've received and just the acceptance of.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just would like to thank Chief Teehee and whatever departments or entities you might have worked with to get these grant funds, because tonight, I think this is another good news win from Muskogee that we're receiving in grants and donated funds over $100,000. And that couldn't be possible without your leadership, and then making certain that you were able to work with those granting personnel to make certain that we had our grants written correctly. So I want to thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 12 passes. Item number 13, please.
Consider accepting the best bid from Bay Singer's Uniform and Equipment for up to 25 powered air purifying respirators in the amount not to exceed $49,723.50 or take other necessary action.
Chief Teehee?
Yes, this is some of the money spent from a grant that we had previously received for the COVID funds. It's not the best bid. Not the cheapest bid, but we feel it's the best bid. This equipment will coincide with what we already have. It allows it to be interchangeable, and we felt it was the best bid to accept.
Move for approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion?
And these respirators are gonna do what, Chief?
For the most part, they're allowed to use anything COVID related. If we go to a house where there's something that we know, or a house we know for a fact there's COVID there, we have the ability to use that there. It's just a step above what the, like an N95 would be. It actually has filters and everything built into it.
Thank you, sir.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan. Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 13 passes. Item number 14, please.
Consider approval to apply for the Walmart Local Community Grant in an amount up to $5,000 to assist in funding with the purchase of an additional K-9 for the Muskogee Police Department or take other necessary action.
Chief Teehee.
This is a grant that we're applying for through the Walmart Foundation. It could be anywhere from $500 up to $5,000 to use towards the purchase of a K-9. We have no idea what the amount will be, but that's what the money would go for.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 14 passes. Item number 15, please.
Consider approval to apply for the National Association of Chiefs of Police K-9 program to assist in funding the purchase of an additional K-9 for the Muskogee Police Department or take other necessary action.
Chief.
This is just another grant opportunity. We can apply with the International Association of the Chief of Police for additional funding toward that K-9. The K-9s, if you remember a month or so ago when I had the discussion, can cost anywhere around $18,000 for the training and the dog. So that's what we're just trying to build up some money to get to that point.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 15 passes. Item number 16, please.
Consider approval of receiving death benefit funds in the amount of $3,000 from the United States Police K-9 Association Incorporated for deceased K-9 Officer Ollie or take other necessary action.
Chief.
This is I guess, a lack of a better explanation, kind of like an insurance policy as being a part of that K-9 group. If you have a K-9 that is killed in the line of duty or in training, this is like an insurance policy. They pay that, and that's money that we've already got the check for. Just need to accept that and to be able to use that towards the purchase of a K-9 as well.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. Rest in peace, Ollie. Any questions or discussion?
Teehee, you do an excellent job of getting funds in for the police department.
We try. Thank you, ma'am.
Chief Teehee, remind me of the officer's name who was in charge of Ole.
He's currently at the, Officer Hignite is at the training with the one that we got donated through Highway Patrol. So he is in training out in western Oklahoma right now.
Please express to him that he and his family are still in our prayers because we realize in dealing with him and his family what a loss that was to have lost that K-9.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 16 passes. Item number 17, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2826, amending the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma municipal budget for fiscal year 2020-2021, providing for additional revenues and expenditures to the Police Equipment Grant Fund, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is really just administrative work. Allows us to take the money that we've just talked about and put it into the grant fund. It's a budget amendment allowing us to do that and then expend the money as described.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 17 passes. And finally, item number 18.
Consider approval to receive donated funds for the city's animal shelter sponsorship program in the amount of $5,756.47 for the months of June, July, and August 2020, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the Animal Shelter Sponsorship Program received $1,735 in June, $1,774 in July, and $2,247.47 in August, for a total of $5,756.47. I'd recommend approval to accept the donated funds.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 18 passes, and this is our final item. Our meeting is adjourned.